Okay, just wrapping up Ohio. Again, really proud of how hard our guys competed. I think we went toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the conference. But obviously disappointed that once again, we lost on the last play of the game. And it's a very, it's always disappointing to lose, but especially losing in that manner. Again, so it's been a tough one to swallow, but I'm confident our guys will bounce back. We have one game left this year against Buffalo, and we certainly want to finish out the season the right way by sending the seniors out with a win, and more importantly, giving us momentum heading into the off season. So Buffalo is, I think, a team a lot like us. That I think they're a better team than their record indicates. They've lost some tough games. They've played very well at home. They beat Ohio at home. They lost to Northern Illinois by 1 point at home on a missed extra point with 15 seconds left. And then last week they blew out Akron at home. So for whatever reason, they've played much better at home than they have on the road. They've got a big physical offensive line. They've got an excellent tailback. They've got a quarterback that can make plays with his feet and his arm. I think up front defensively, they're a very good football team. And they have a young secondary that I think is growing. So this will be a tough challenge. And we got to get up there and get our guys up and try to finish out the 2011 season the right way.
Dave, go ahead, Jim.
I was just saying, we kind of talked about the momentum headed to the off season. I mean, what can a win do? For 6 months. How can it really help?
Is winning or losing this football game going to have any effect on how we play in the swamp when we open up next September? I don't think so. But I tell you what, in a year that I think our guys have practiced hard all year, I think our guys have competed hard at every game. I don't think there's a game this year that you'd say, hey, they didn't show up. I'm really proud that I think our guys have taken a step forward in terms of bringing consistent effort to the practice field and the game field. I just want them to get a reward. I want them to have that feeling of winning and to remember how good that feels, and have that be motivation going into the off season. That's a good feeling, and we want to get that feeling back. And after starting the season out 3-1, we haven't had that feeling lately, and you'd love to finish up the season. 2 years ago, we were 6-2 in the MAC and got to a bowl game, but the sting of that bowl game, I think, hurt the off season. So this is a game that we need to go up there and play well and sell out and find a way to win, and we're very capable of doing that. And I think if we can do that, we can really look back and say, hey, we made a nice jump. You go from 2-10 to 5-7. You were more competitive. You were in every game except West Virginia, and there's a clear step that your program has taken, and that's positive momentum going into the future. Certainly at 4-8. The step isn't as positive.
Dave, I'm kind of sorry. I'm sorry to revisit history here, but you say that last second loss hurt the team in the off season. In what ways did that hurt?
Well, it's just football's a very emotional game. Sometimes I'm envious of those baseball guys that they lose a game in the ninth inning, and the next day they have a doubleheader. Or in basketball, you lose with a buzzer beater on Thursday, and you have a game you got to get ready for Saturday. Football players in the game of football, you work 12 months for 12 opportunities, and then you got to live with that result, usually for a week, which is tough. But the result at the end of the year, you got to live with that result for the next 9 months. And the sick feeling you have in your stomach when you lose a game, especially a game in the last play like that. It takes some resiliency and some mental toughness to bounce back from that. And, again, I think our guys, for the most part this year, have done that. When we lost in the last second to Wyoming, I think we came back and probably had one of our best performances of the year against Miami. So our team has shown a resiliency, but we need to do that this week, and it's the 12th game. And these last games of the year, when you're not playing to get into the MAC championship or playing to get a bowl game, I think you find out a lot about the character of your football team and who your true football players are and who really loves football. The hangers-on, they won't, the guys that aren't truly invested, you find out this week in practice and you find out how they perform, but the guys that are truly invested in our program, and for us, it's a bigger picture. I mean, we've, on defense, we've never returned more than 3 starters in a season for 3 straight years. We're going to return 10 starters. On our program, if you include the kicker, the punter, the long snapper, we're going to return 21 starters. So from a very broad picture, it's not just about this season, but it's about the whole program. That most of the players playing in this football game are going to be with us for the next year, 2 years, 3 years. And, I think for them it's critical that we continue to get better and continue to show progress and do everything we can to win this football game.
You say you find out a lot about your team in these final weeks. What have you found out about your team to this point?
I think probably what most teams. I think there's no question that not having the success that we've been close to achieving this year, but at the end of the day, we didn't get it done. And we have 4 wins right now. We don't have 6. We don't have 7. We could have talked about woulda, shoulda, coulda, but we found a way to win 4 games. But whenever you do that, you can tell with some guys whose commitment to their love of football and their commitment to football isn't as great as others. You can see it in their practice habits, they've been given an excuse that, hey, we're not playing for a bowl, we're not playing for a championship. Their effort isn't what it should be, and we see it on film, and we now know that those are guys that we can't count on in the future, and other guys crank it up. And I can't tell you how proud I am of Ben Boychuk. I mean, Ben Boychuk is practicing like we're an undefeated football team right now. He goes out there and he goes hard every day, and there's a 5th-year senior. And we have other guys doing the same thing. And I'm not going to go through the whole roster and say who they are, but as we've gone through this, there's clearly players on our team that there's no let up, there's no quit, and those are the guys that you now say, you know what, you got to build the team around those guys. Because those guys are your football players. Those are the guys that are truly invested, and the guys that are looking for an out. Those are the guys that you need to find a way to either get them turned or get them beat out.
Will you talk a little bit about the practicing for the last second situations? The team has obviously struggled in those last second, last play situations. What can you do to simulate that in practice?
Well, I mean, there's a very easy answer. It's make the kick, make the tackle, block the kick, convert the 2-point play. And we've done this every year, but probably even put more emphasis on it this year, is that after last season, we lost 4 games in the last 30 seconds of the game, whether it was Temple by not converting a 2-point conversion, Troy by giving up a field goal, Buffalo not converting a field goal, Miami, they kicked a field goal. But what we've done is we've replicated those situations in practice. We did that in the spring. It's a minute 21 left in the game, you got 2 timeouts, you're down by 7, you're playing for the win. So the players know, the offensive guys know that they've got to score a touchdown, and then we're going to go for 2. Hey, it's 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. There's 1 timeout. We're down by 2 points. So now we're playing for the field goal. And you try to teach your quarterbacks, how to manage the clock, because you want to score, but you also want to score with as little time as possible. This is clearly the last drive of the game. You almost don't want to score too quickly. And you're also trying to teach your defense the importance of making a stop. All the time in those situations we tell the defense, to get off the field, you need 1 guy to make 1 play. It might be a sack, strip, fumble. It might be a break on a ball for a pick. And you talk about all those things that if you do this, if 1 player does this, the game is over, you win. Because it's very easy defensively to collectively say, hey, I did my job. But if you didn't make a play, you didn't do your job. And I think clearly that's the step that we have to take on defense is, from a year ago that we were out of gaps and busting the coverage and not in the right place. We right now have a bunch of guys lining up and playing the defense, and for the most part, they're in their gaps, and they're playing the proper coverage. But what we're not doing enough is we're not making plays. Part of playing defense is getting off a block and making a tackle. You know, not just playing 3 deep, but covering the guy so that when they throw the speed out, you break on it and break it up or pick it. You know, there's a structure to what you do, but within the structure, there's opportunities to make plays that clearly in the Ohio game we didn't make. You know, we weren't misaligned. We didn't have missed assignments. We didn't have a guy blow a coverage. We had nobody make a play. Nobody came off a block and made a sack. In a pass rush, nobody came off and tackled the quarterback from behind. In the run game, nobody came off a block at the second level and made a play in the backfield to get them off schedule. And all you needed that is 1 or 2 of those things to happen and you win the game. And credit to Ohio, they executed well, but we didn't have anybody make a play. So, you know, they all, you know, to a degree graded out in terms of their assignment. They lined up in the right place and did the right job. But part of playing defense is winning your one-on-one matchup, getting off a block and making a tackle. And clearly we didn't do that.
Is there a frustration at this point that nobody is stepping up and making play, or is that kind of the next step that a young group has to take?
To me, that's the next step we clearly have to take. You know, I mean, it's, you know, when you're on that field, you're not young anymore. You know, so we can keep saying, hey, we're young, we're playing all these young guys. I mean, it's week 12, and when you're on that field, it doesn't matter if you're a senior or a freshman, that there's an expectation of productivity. That if you're playing, it's not just good enough to get lined up and play in your gap. At some point, you got to come off a block. It's not your job to just say, hey, I didn't get beat deep in my quarter or my third. It's your job to cover the guy. And you know, right now, again, I think we've clearly closed the talent gap that existed a year ago. I mean, I really felt a year ago we went into games not being close from a talent standpoint, the teams we played. I no longer feel that way. You know, to me, right now, we need guys to make more plays. And that's, you know, that's a step that we don't want to wait till next year to take. We want to take that step this week.
This game being scheduled the day after Thanksgiving and stuff, I guess, what are your plans? What are the team's plans for Thanksgiving?
You know, with when you coach football and play football, you know, especially in this conference, you know, the dates and the holidays, they don't matter. I mean, we have a game Friday, and we're going to do Thursday what we usually do. And once we get to the hotel, we might do a little bit something special for the team that we don't otherwise do. But, you know, we want to enjoy Halloween, but in a lot of ways, you know, this is a trip that has a purpose to it. And the purpose is to beat Buffalo on Friday.
So I guess as a coach, have you gotten used to kind of these, not really celebrating holidays and stuff, Thanksgiving and stuff?
Oh, I can't. I mean, you know, I've been married for, 15, 16 years, and I can probably count on one hand the amount of Thanksgivings I've had with my family. You know, and when I coached 1AA, if you had Thanksgiving, it was not a good sign. It meant you weren't in the playoffs. And at the bowl level, you always have a game scheduled, you know, the weekend of Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving. So it's just, just one of those things. It's, our families make many sacrifices for us to do something we love, and heck, they probably will have a better time without. So,
along those lines, Urban Meyer's a guy who's dealt with a lot of health issues and coaching, that sort of thing. Not that he's taken a job yet, but clearly he's in a situation he's considering that thing. Is it good to see him back in a better mental state at this point?
I know Urban. He's been supportive of our program. I don't have a close personal friendship with him. It's not like, he's texting me and consulting me. So I know about as much as you do.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's fine. I know mentally it's a real stressful thing.
Yeah, I think, anybody who does this for a living, and, your job's stressful too, right? Right now you got Howie here, and you guys are competing for ratings, and, when the ratings come out, it won't be as publicized as our scoreboard, but, one of you is winning, one of you is losing. So, every job has stress. We're all expected to produce, and, certainly Urban in his time as a head coach had a lot of success, and, for health reasons he stepped down, but, if he feels healthy enough and ready to make a return, I'm sure he knows best, and I'm sure that's, any decision he makes, I'm sure he'll think it over and consult with his family and the people he trusts. And, you know, like everybody, I'm sure he has an inner circle. I'm not part of his inner circle, so I have no idea what he's thinking, but if he decides to get back into it, you know, he as well as anybody knows exactly what he's getting into.
Back to,
Go ahead.
thank you, Jeff.
These guys are competing too.
Absolutely.
As a distant second.
For your situation, Dave, knowing that this season wasn't what you were hoping for, how hard is it to balance the pressure you feel from that, from the outside, I would say, primarily, knowing that you feel down the road this is going to be to their benefit?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my first rodeo. You know, I think if I had never been a head coach before, and not that it's easy, John. I mean, you know, I live and die with the wins and the losses. I mean, it's you know, you lose a game like that, you know, you're going to have a couple of sleep-deprived nights, and certainly we've had our share of losses like that the past 2 years. So, you know, it's tough, but you know, I think, you know, at the end of the day, and I think it helps that I have been through it before. You know, I believe in our players. I really do. I mean, you know, we've gone 2 straight years here that we really haven't had a senior class. You know, do I wish that we were 11-0 right now? Yes. Do I wish we were 7-4? Yes. But I look at the players that we're playing with, and I look at their talent level, and we have not made recruiting mistakes. We have guys that can play. I watch how we practice. You know, our worst practice this year is probably better than our best practice last year. I look at how we're competing against the better teams in the league. And I don't know what the score of the Ohio game was last year at halftime. Do you remember? 28-0, 35-0. That's a good football team. You know, as much as, you know, we have to figure out how to win games, bottom line. But, you know, can you take some encouragement that you just went head-to-head with the team that's the best team in the league that blew you out by however many points last year? There's no doubt we're getting better. How do you take that next step? How do you find a way to win those close games? You know, I've gone back and you learn from your past experiences, and you know, certainly in other places I've been, we've had the benefit of winning those close games at the last second. You know, how do you turn that corner? How do you make that small jump that instead of losing games at the last second, you're now winning those games? Or you've made a couple of plays in the first half that it doesn't come down to a last second field goal. And you know, I guess part of my encouragement is when you have 21 starters coming back, if each of those guys just gets a little bit better, collectively, how much better can we get? And what if a lot of those guys get a lot better? What if a lot of those guys learn this year how truly hard it is to win a football game? It's hard to win a football game. You know, we play in a tough conference and we play good football teams, and it's hard. And a lot of these guys think that they can get by on talent, and now they've learned this year that everybody has talent. Everybody we play against has good players. You know, we don't go into a game that we're just loaded for bear and the team we play stinks, and as long as we show up, we're going to win. And if we learn that lesson this year, that it takes more than talent, it takes preparation, it takes mental toughness, it takes guys pushing each other to get to that next level, and you got 21 of them coming back, and they just get 10% better, 20% better, what type of jump can you make as a program? And I've seen that happen before. I've seen a team go from 3-8 to 9-4. I've seen a team go from, you know, 3-18 to winning, you know, 26, 27 games in the next 3 years. It's a fine line, and there's never a guarantee you're going to get there. But every indicator that I've ever seen in coaching, I think we're on the cusp of it, and that's what keeps you going. You know, if we were 0-11 right now, and our offense had gotten worse, and our defense went from 12th to 13th, you know, then you're saying, "Whew, what's going on?" You know, but you know, every indicator in our program, you know, from APR to GPA to offensive production to defensive production to the weight room numbers, everything is trending up. And now we've got to take that next step, that we're a team that finds ways to win football games in the fourth quarter. And obviously that has got to be a major goal for our program, that we've got to find a way to take that next step. And I think it's through individual improvement. Through individual improvement, it's through team improvement. And then it's by having a bunch of guys that have played a ton of football games that now understand game experience and what it takes to win a football game.
One more, Jack, if you don't mind.
I thought that was a pretty good answer to a short question.
It was a great answer. Let me follow up. You're talking about going back to the last second
Mhm.
setbacks. Do you wonder at a point, does it become more a mental issue than a physical issue?
No, I don't. On defense, make a play. Make a play. Make one play. You have a 9-point lead in the fourth quarter. We have a bad kickoff, they get a short field, and they go through us in 3 plays. Make a play. We give them the ball on their 8-yard line or 9-yard line with 7:30 left. Make one play. One guy make one play. That's all it is. I mean, it's not mental. It's, we're not, it's not impending doom. Make a play. Somebody make a sack. Somebody break up a ball. Somebody pick the ball. If you make that one play, you're in a much better position. And you can take it further back. Don't turn the football over in the first half and give them 13 points. If we turn it over twice and not 3 times, do we win the game by 2 points? Every turnover we had resulted in a score. So, and part of the lesson is, you can go back and say it's the fourth quarter and it's mental and it's the last second field goal. But what about all those opportunities we had in the first and second half that if you make that one play, you win the football game because it never comes down to a last second field goal. And that's, you focus on the last 30 seconds because that's where the outcome was, but there was 58 minutes or 59 minutes before that we had an opportunity to make a play we didn't make. And it's getting guys to understand the value of a rep, the value of every play. That you play every play without looking at the scoreboard. You got to win the play. You got to win that play. And teams that don't look at the scoreboard and win that play, at the end of the game, the scoreboard is usually in their favor.
Nick, you're good, right?
I'm good.
Okay.
I've forgotten what I was going to ask after that.